Hi YouTube, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can find me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Today I have got my friend Ashley here with me. Ashley said well, her and I are friends from the air-cooled Volkswagen Club that we've got here in town. My boy's got an old 69 VW, and we found a whole bunch of other crazy people that really like those old things. Ashley's got a...
74.
74 Super? 74 regular Beetle, and hers is way nicer than Vance's, but you know, they're old cars. They've got, you know, everybody loves them, I guess. Anyway, so the other day we were at the Friendsgiving at one of the other club members' houses, and she said that she did not know how to sharpen a knife. I can't believe that. I mean, that's like, you know, somebody telling me they don't know how to chew bubble gum and walk at the same time.
I'm not good at that.
You know, I mean, it just, anyway. So, I've got her over here to the shop. We are going to show her how to sharpen a knife, and we're going to go step by step through the whole thing. So she walked in this morning, cannot sharpen a knife. She is going to leave knowing how to sharpen a knife, and hopefully get on Amazon, pick up a stone, go to Walmart, whatever, and then start practicing at home. Then she will never fear a dull knife again. Okay, so first of all, what we're going to go over here, and we are doing this kind of... You know, I'm explaining the whole thing to her just as if, you know, I was explaining it to you. So we're going to go over some different stones here. All right, so your classic stones, this is probably what your grandma and grandpa had. These are oil stones, okay? So this right here is a Norton crystalline coarse fine. It's made out of silicon carbide, which you really don't need to know that, but it'll cut just about anything except for your high-end super steels, which by the time you get into those, you know what you're doing and you know what kind of stone to get. But these stones right here will sharpen anything that you're likely to run across. Pocket knives, kitchen knives, scissors, fish hooks, you know, anything that needs an edge or a point, these will do. So this is a Norton coarse fine crystalline. This here is a Norton fine India. The grits, this one, the coarse size is about 100 grit or so, which just think of it as sandpaper. Okay. So coarse sandpaper, fine sandpaper. So this is about 100 grit. It's used for shaping edges and getting them ready to sharpen. Your fine side is about a 320. That's for smoothing out the marks from the 100 grit and getting everything ready to actually start sharpening. He figures every time. We'll just have to let them leave a message. This one right here is the Norton Fine India. It's about a 380, 400 grit, somewhere around there. The Smith's Trihone. I had one of these when I was a kid, and honestly, it did pretty good. I didn't know how to use it as well as I do now, though, but I'll show you that, because we're going to go ahead and sharpen with these. We're just going to go over everything else. The Smith's Trihone has got that coarse, just like that. It's got a medium, which is in between this coarse and the Norton Fine India, and then it's got a soft Arkansas, which these right here are man-made stones. So they take grit and put it into a form and then fire it, just like pottery or something, making that shape. The soft Arkansas, that's a natural stone, so that's just a chunk of rock that somebody cut into shape, and there you go. So anyway, so those are pretty much what the majority of everybody is going to be familiar with, at least in this country. I mean, if you were in Japan, more than likely everybody would be more familiar with water stones. But here, I think most everybody's into oil stones. The other ones we've got here, since I mentioned water stones, that's these ones. Water stones, you need to have a flattening plate with them because they are very soft and they dish really bad. So you ever see an old sharpening stone and it's kind of wore out in the middle? These do that really bad. I mean, one of these, you need years to be able to do that. These types, you can do that in a matter of minutes. So they come with a flattening stone, and pretty much when they get worn out, under running water, you just put them together and rub them, and that'll flatten them out. They'll take off the abrasive on the high spots and get them back flat again. It also reconditions the surface of the stone so that it'll keep cutting, you know, because it'll get plugged up with steel particles, dirt, all that kind of stuff. You can either use a flattening stone or you can use diamond plates. This one right here is a Norton. It's a 220 and 1000 grit combination stone. So you got your coarse side for shaping, and then your fine side for actually sharpening or polishing, whatever you want to do. These are pretty expensive. These stones right here, the oil stones. The oil stones, this crystalline, coarse fine is like 30 bucks. The Norton Fine India, I think they're probably around 30 bucks. The combination of coarse crystalline and fine India is $20 shipped on Amazon if you got the Prime. This Smith setup is, I picked this up for $25 at Walmart, kind of on a bet that I couldn't sharpen a straight razor to be able to shave with a $25 stone setup from Walmart, and it actually worked. These are way more expensive. Depends on where you get them, of course, but I want to say the flattening stone's 20 or 30 bucks, and this is more like $50 or $60. Some people like them, some people don't. You know, I've got them all, it seems like. I've probably got $1,000 in stones or more, something like that. But I'm a knife maker, right? Not just an average person, which that's what this video is about. These right here, our last category, pretty much are going to be diamond hones. These are, these will cut anything. I mean, even the high-end super steels, these will cut them. They'll cut them fast. They leave a nice scratch pattern, a really toothy edge, which is what I like. This is a DMT Diamond Sharp coarse, 325. That stone's about 60 bucks just by itself. DMT also makes the interrupted surface, so you've got the little bitty holes in there, but it's the same surface, but right here. And then Smith's also makes the same deal, but you can get the large, you can get them in all sizes, or you can get the little, you know, little pocket version that pulls apart and stores inside, you know, that sort of deal. Diamonds are great. The only problem is and this is more of a knife maker type deal, you know, because I sharpen so many knives. You know, it wouldn't be out of the ordinary for me to say that I sharpen 100 knives a month. You know, so what I see and what the normal person sees is going to be kind of two different things. So the wear that I put on a stone in 1 year might equal what you might put on a stone in a decade or more. So anyway, so I just use these for finishing stones, but you can do everything on these, and if you're only sharpening, you've got what, probably 6 kitchen knives at home?
Somewhere around there.
And a pocket knife for 2 or 3, and you know, so those knives, heck, you could probably pick up this, just one of these right here, and then a shaping stone, and be good to go for the rest of your life. You know, these would be a lifetime investment also. The water stones, they wear so fast that I would say probably once every 10 years you'd probably need a new set. And then of course you've got your steels, which everybody sees these in the kitchen. A lot of times they're just a round steel rod. I like the ones that are made with a diamond plate, and the ceramic ones occasionally, because they don't wear out near as bad as the other ones, and they actually have some abrasive power. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're just going to focus on the oil stones because, like I said, here in the U.S., I believe they're the most common. Of course, with Amazon, I guess it doesn't really matter. All right, let's save that because that's going to be for a. I got some more videos to do on that. We need a brick. Brick is to get your hands up off the surface of the bench, and a couple of paper towels. You take the paper towel, stick it up underneath the brick so it doesn't want to move as much. Try to find a flat spot. There we go. Put another paper towel on top. We're going to use the, like I said, the stone that I'd really recommend for you to get is going to be the Norton crystalline coarse and fine India in a combination stone. Okay, so it'll look like that, only without that,
Okay.
that in there. We're going to start on the coarse side first. I like using mineral oil. Mineral oil is comes as wood and bamboo oil for kitchen knife or cutting boards. Baby oil is a light mineral oil, but I can't stand the smell of it. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of guys can. I just can't. I mean, ugh, yeah, that just brings back too many bad memories.
We've left that part of our life behind.
Well, grandkids pretty soon, I would think, in the next 10 years or so. They also, I buy this stuff by the gallon at the local feedlot store. Almost all of it is food grade, so you can use it on your kitchen knives, you get it on your hands. It might act as a moisturizer, I don't really know. My hands are kind of beat up, so I don't really care.
You're not alone.
Well, yeah, but you're a rock climber. All right, so we're going to put some oil on, just mineral oil on the stone here, and let that kind of sit for a little bit, and we are going to take one of these knives. Now, you see how if you look directly down at the edge, you see all kind of light getting reflected? Okay, now take a look at my pocket knife.
Oh, okay.
You should see no light.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, there might be a ding here or there, but this one's got light reflecting all the way, and this one doesn't. Okay, here, I hope you guys are going to be able to see this with a little bitty screen, but no light reflecting off the edge, light reflecting off the edge. Okay, the second thing is the bevels. All right, now that's going to be between, so this right here is going to be your blade bevel. Okay, so that's the actual finish of the knife. All right, this one's a real pretty Damascus, so it's real easy to see. Right there, where it starts getting just shiny, from there to the cutting edge, that's your edge bevel. Everybody, it seems like, say primary edge, secondary edge, and they get them mixed up. So I go blade finish bevel and edge finish bevel. So it's pretty easy to see. So where you see the Damascus, that's going to be your blade bevel. Where it's shiny, from there to the very edge, that's your edge bevel. See the same thing on this one? The scratch patterns on this one, this is a satin finish blade, so they go this way, and the sharpening marks will go that way. So you can kind of see there. Alright, see that on this one? Okay, so first step is called shaping. Alright, now it's sharpening, but we're not actually going for an edge. We're just trying to get the blade geometry or the edge geometry set up to sharpen. So we're going to do the magic marker trick. No, we'll go red. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to mark up just the edge bevel. You know what? It's almost Christmas time. Let's do red and green.
Matches my shoes.
There you go. She's got Charlie Brown tennis shoes. Man, Charlie Brown's the coolest.
I just ordered my Snoopy costume today for our Christmas party.
Oh. Well, if I don't see that, you got to send me a picture of that one.
Definitely.
Okay. So we got red and we got red and we got green. So pretty much what I did was just ink up where the edge bevel was. The reason I do that is because now when I put that blade on the stone and take a pass, wherever that color is gone, that's where the blade is hitting the stone.
Okay.
Okay. So we are going to lay the blade flat on the stone. Okay. Now we're going to raise it up until you can feel the existing edge bevel. Okay, or until you just kind of get the spine up off the stone. And then take a stroke towards us. Now you can see the shiny spot. Okay? Shiny spot. Alright. Now this shiny spot right here is right at the very edge. So I can't remember when I sharpened these last. And these, I remember my wife and I picked this set up when we first got married, and that was almost 20 years ago. So they're quite a bit narrower than they were when we bought them. But anyways, so what we need to do is we need to get that shiny spot. Now you notice in here, let me see where. Okay, see how we've got blade bevel, and then green, and then shiny here.
Mm-hmm.
But that shiny is not here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not up in here. See that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that means we're not all the way down to the edge. We haven't abraded this plane down to here. Some places you can see the shiny, some you can't. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to rub that side until, probably should have picked some wider blades. We'll give you the wider ones, that way it'll be easier. We're just going to rub it back and forth, holding that same angle, until we get all the way down there. Now, see how the magic marker's all gone?
Mm-hmm.
We're shiny all the way down to the edge. But I have not, well, I'm starting to pick up a burr here. See there? Okay, now we're going to go a little bit more. What'll happen is that when this side gets sharpened to where it meets the other side,
Mm-hmm.
there'll be a burr that's formed on the other side. It'll
Mm-hmm.
just be a ribbon of steel right there, and you can feel it. I mean, my hands and my fingertips are all jacked up and calloused and heat, you know, insensitive from forging all the time. Your hands, you'll be rock climbing all the time. Yours will be the same way, but you know what? You'll be able to feel it anyway. Human hand can feel, I mean, just pluck a hair off your head and feel that hair, and you can
Mm-hmm.
feel the hair. Well, most hairs are 3/1000ths of an inch thick.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably you could feel a half of a hair. You know, if you can feel that, you can definitely feel this burr that's about to form. Okay, so I can kind of feel I'm getting the burr right up in here, but I'm not getting it up in here. So we're going to go, well, actually, I'll let you feel that. Okay, so strop with your finger this way. Okay, do not go this way, and do not keep it in the same place and go this way either.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you take a knife and you just set it on your hand, it won't cut you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. When you put pressure on it, that's when it'll cut you. Or the second you move it back and forth, that's when it cuts. So if you do like a stropping motion, you should never cut yourself. I mean, I'm sure somebody will be able to do it, but so right in here, see how I'm moving that blade and I can feel that burr,
Mm-hmm.
and then here I can't. You can do pinky or index finger, whichever one.
Oh,
Feel that little
Yeah,
scratchy
the
right there at the end?
yeah.
Yep, that's the burr telling you that on that side, or where that burr is, on the opposite side, that you are all the way down to the edge.
Okay.
Okay? So I need to feel that burr all the way up. So, probably should have said before that there are two kind of normally accepted schools of thought when it comes to sharpening. You've got burr-based sharpening, where you raise a burr and then you use that burr to tell you where you are at each stage of the sharpening process. And then you've got there's different names, but I think most people call it the plateau method, where you don't want to raise a burr. You feel that burr all the way along?
It's all the way down there.
Now what we need to do is swap sides. We're going to grind on the red side until we get the burr on the green side. Again, we lay the blade flat, we lift it up just a little bit, and we start grinding. You know, and it seems like the guys that really like the burr-based method don't get along with the guys that like the plateau method, and the same way the other way around. You know, it's like Chevy versus Dodge, because we're not even going to bring Fords into this. You know, they're both trucks. They're both going to get almost all the work you ever need to get done. I like Chevys because they've got the lowest beds, and I work by myself, and so I like a low bed.
You need Justin's grandpa's step off the tailgate.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas Dodges have got, you know, they're higher. So if I was mudding or, you know, four-wheel driving all the time, I would probably like a Dodge more than I would like a Chevy. It's all kind of the same deal. This is all sharpening, you know, burr-based sharpening, plateau sharpening. Hey, get the thing sharp and get to work. So we are at, we'll feel the burr on that side.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's no doubt in your mind that you can feel that burr, right?
Right.
I mean, it's there or it's not,
Definitely.
right? Okay. Okay, so we have got our shaping done now. if you'll also notice, if you kind of look, we need a drawing. Anyway. Okay, so think of an edge as the point of a pencil. All right, so see how that point of that pencil is real nice and sharp because I just sharpened it earlier today. Here's one. That one's nice and sharp. Now it's not. Okay, it's still a usable pencil lead, but it's not. You're not going to draw that fine line. So if you're just writing a paper or something, or writing a letter or something, who cares? But if you're drawing or something and you're doing shading, okay, well that'll be all right. But if you're wanting to make nice fine lines, you need that nice fine point. Same thing with a knife. Okay, you use this knife and you keep using it and you keep using it and you keep using it, and that point wears down.
Oh, that's quick on there.
Yeah, it's 100 grit, basically 100 grit sandpaper, and the point goes completely away, right? Now, if you want to go from here to here, you can't just sharpen the very point. You have to sharpen all the way back. Okay, so we're going to take a fresh edge, and of course I'm not a very good drawer.
This is where we need Bria.
Yeah, Bria's really good at that. And then a whole pencil. Okay, so this right here is a fresh edge. Okay, this plane and this plane meet at the point, or they meet at infinity, if you want to call it, right? This right here is a fresh edge, and now it's dull. Okay, so to go from here back to here, you can't just sharpen this. I mean, sure, it'll come together at a point, but it won't get you into your work as well. I mean, it'll be sharp, it might take hair off your arm, but then when you go to cut, you're trying to force a real thick wedge through whatever it is that you're cutting instead of a nice narrow wedge. Okay, so to get this point back, what we have to do is we have to take all this material back off to reveal a new edge. Okay, you guys see that? Fresh edge. This was a fresh edge. I erased the tip. It's dull. And then you have to remove all this material off both sides to come back to this. All right? Another thing is going to be factory edges. All right, so factory edges, you would think that they would come to you like this, right? Okay, well, most factories use mechanical sharpening to sharpen that knife. I mean, these Chicago cutlery knives, there might be a pretty good knife and everything, but they're $3 at Walmart. Okay, how much time and money do you think that Chicago cutlery can put into that knife, sell it at $3 and still make a profit? So most of them come with buffed edges. So what you'll end up with is an edge that instead of looking like this, instead of being nice and triangular like this, it'll actually be rounded like that. Which is what they call a convex edge, but not really on purpose. So then when you go back to sharpen it, you've got to take all that material right there off, that whole rounded section. And so sometimes shaping on a fresh knife can take a long time because you've got to remove an awful lot of material to be able to get it down. Well, the burr tells you when you're done. And then just by looking at the side of it, you can tell when this looks nice and flat and even from your transition between your blade bevels and your edge bevels. When that from there to the edge looks nice and flat and crisp and at the same angle, you're pretty much done. Okay. So now we're going to go to the no, because the stone that I'd recommend for you to get is this one. So we'll kind of stick with that. We're going to put some more oil on here. Now with the burr base method, we're going to use that burr to let us know when we're done at each stage. Okay, and then we'll shoot another video on the plateau method just so that nobody gets angry at me. All right, so the burr is the last side that we abraded was the red side. So now the burr, we can feel it on the green side. Okay, so we want to sharpen on the green side. All right, now your first stroke, lay it down flat, lift it up until now you can actually feel that flat, that edge bevel, because we flattened it. Your first stroke is going to feel and sound pretty gritty because you're shearing that burr off and you're moving it to the other side. Okay, so we stay there and we and you can go back and forth like this. You know, you can go circles. Lots of folks like circles. You can go straight up and straight down and then move to a different section of the blade if you want to. You can write the alphabet on the stone with the blade. I mean, you know, whatever motion is easiest for you to, or you can do just like this. Whatever motion is going to be easiest for you to hold a good angle at, that's the motion you need to try. Okay, now feel that burr and tell me what you feel.
It's in the red now. Just barely.
Just barely. And is it all the way?
Feels like it.
Feels like it?
Maybe not right here.
Yeah, to me it feels like it's good and solid here, good and solid here, and then here it kind of fades out. Here it comes back, but the burr is now half the size as it was, right? Because we're using a much finer abrasive. Okay, so we're just going to come in and work that one little spot. Now there it is. Okay, so now we moved the burr from the green side to the red side. Now we need to move it back from the red side to the green side. Okay, what we're doing right now is the tail end of the shaping. Okay, so we've got our nice angular edge established. And pretty much what we're doing now is just kind of removing that real coarse scratch pattern. And then evening it out, and then getting rid of the damaged steel that's behind the burr, and getting it ready to actually make the thing sharp. Notice we haven't checked to see how sharp it is yet, because that burr is it won't let us feel how sharp it is. But by knowing that the burr is there, we know that both planes are intersecting. Feel that burr? Okay, so now we made the burr on one side with the coarse stone. We made it back on the other side with the coarse stone. Then we went to our Norton Fine India. We chatted a whole lot and we drew some pictures, what you won't need to do. We established or moved that coarse burr to the other side. Then we sharpened on the other side and then moved the burr back to the other side. The other side and the other side, you know what I mean. Okay, so now we have got an edge that is set up and ready to actually sharpen it. All right, and the burr is on the green side now, which can't really tell a whole lot. So now what we do is now we're actually going to sharpen. Okay. So we really lighten up on the pressure, and you just use just enough pressure to get the stone to cut. And you'll be able to feel, so if I just drag it over, I can feel that that stone isn't cutting. The blade's just sitting on top of the oil and it's not doing anything, right? So you put just enough pressure to get that stone to cut. And I mean just enough. So it's going to be really, really light. Okay? And that will move that burr to the other side. And that burr's getting a lot smaller.
It's a lot harder to feel now.
But you can still feel it, right?
You can still feel it, though. Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And this, if you want to put a number to it, because everybody always wants to put numbers to everything and put everything in little boxes, but, you know, go like, I don't know, 10. Now that burr's on that side, and it's getting weaker and weaker.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're really going to start weakening that burr up. So we're only going to do like, I don't know, 4 or 5 passes on each side. And then just 1 on each side. Now, sometimes when I feel that right there, sometimes I think I can feel a burr on one side, and then it feels like the burr is stood up. It's not really leaning. So this is, if this is an edge, that would be a burr. Okay, so right now it kind of feels like that burr is stood up for the most part, which means that it's nice and weak. If we were to look at that under magnification, which I've got the big scope and I've got a whole bunch of videos showing all this stuff, but you don't have a scope like that at home, and you're not going to want to come over here every time to borrow my scope that you need to sharpen your pocket knife. So that's why we're not using it. So that burr is nice and weak and in the perfect condition to remove it, because we have to remove it, otherwise it'll be a very weak edge. The second you go to cut something, that burr will fold over and then it won't actually cut anymore. Okay. To remove the burr, some people strop a blade on like an old leather belt. I wouldn't use a fine razor strop because it'll leave bits of the burr on your strop and it'll dull your razor. Murray Carter, he uses, he's another knife maker. He uses a soft piece of wood and he'll draw the edge through that soft piece of wood and kind of break that burr off. My preference is micro bevels. So we're going to have, so if we've got that burr stood up like that, right? Okay, what I want to do is come in and shear that burr off. That way it shears off nice and clean and gets you little bitty, we call them micro bevels because it's a slightly steeper edge angle on your blade, on your edge, and it makes it a little bit stronger. Okay, so we take whatever our sharpening angle was, there's flat, there's about what we've been sharpening at. We're going to add another 10, 15, 20 degrees, somewhere around there, and then extremely lightly cut that burr off. Now I can feel what's left of it all perfectly on the other side.
Yeah.
Now we're going to do the other way. I must have had too much coffee today. My hands are shaking really bad. Didn't get it quite off here. That, and this is a really light knife. That, and I'm used to standing here instead of way over here. So we're going to do just another one. Right up there at the tip. Okay. Let's see if you feel a burr at all. No burr, right? Now we look at the edge. There's no reflection of light. Oh, there's some at the tip. I didn't get the tip too much. I must have been jabbering too much. Alright, so now we're going to wipe off the extra mineral oil here, and then we'll grab a piece of paper and see if it'll cut. Which it ought to. A little bit rough, but that's alright. I just lapped that stone too, so it hasn't smoothed out very much. It might take arm hair off. Yeah, it's grabbing it.
Yeah, it is.
Yep. There's hair off my arm. Just that simple, right? Okay. So now it's your turn. We're going to go with the straight one.
Okay.
And that is entirely too sharp. So still too sharp. Come on, let's make her work for it, right? That is pretty dull. God, look at that, it's ripping the paper. Alright. I'm going to swap your spots. Actually, yeah, I'll swap your spots and then we'll kind of see. I'll put you in the majority of the screen. Yeah, and then I'll just kind of be off to the side. Alright. Now, well actually, since you're there, feel the burr.
Feel it?
Because when I feel how nasty it feels.
Yeah. Oh, that's odd. Doing your Sharpie thing.
Okay. You know, the Sharpie is an excellent teaching tool, and it's an excellent tool to, you know, if you ever have a day where you just can't seem to sharpen shit, pull that pull that Sharpie out and go back to the basics, and usually it'll let you know what's going on, whether you had too much coffee that morning, or you know, it's a knife that you just can't quite get along with. Usually you go back to that, going back to the basics, and you'll be able to sharpen it right away.
Alright.
Okay, so now we need oil.
What?
And you can spread it around or let the blade spread it around, either way. Alright, now hold it flat on the stone. Okay, completely flat. Now that one, it's got such a low edge, or you probably won't be able to feel the edge bevels on it. So just, yep, tilt it up just a little bit, whatever feels comfortable, and then just draw it to you. Now lighten up on your pressure and see the, no, you can, I mean, when you're shaping, you can use a lot more pressure, but see how the stone's cutting, and you can kind of feel how much pressure it needs for it to be able to cut. Now you just increased your edge angle quite a bit. Yeah, that's all right though. This is her first time sharpening ever. Now when you come back here towards the end, I want you to lift the heel of your hand up a little bit to get the tip.
Okay.
Now looks a little bit more. Just at the, that's it. Okay, now check your ink.
All my red's gone, pretty much so.
All your red's gone. Now do you feel the burr on the green side?
Yep.
Is it pretty nice and even? You got it the whole way across?
I think so.
No, I'm not gonna. This is all you, honey.
Yep.
It's good? Okay, now do the same thing on the other way. Now some guys, why do I say guys? Some people, you know. Sharpening is not a man-woman thing. I mean, it's just a thing, you know. I mean, if you use a knife, you ought to be able to sharpen the knife. You know, you can sharpen right-handed, both stroke, and then left-handed, both towards you. Right-handed and left-handed, both away from you. You can do right-handed towards you and then away from you. Left-handed towards you and away from you. Now that's called stropping. Which I guess if that's what you want to do, that's fine.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Except for you just raised your. Okay, so go back to a push motion instead. Okay, now lift your blade up just. There you go. See how there on that last stroke your angle was way up?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so let's go back to the pushing motions with the right hand. There you go. So put the knife on the blade all the way flat, and then adjust it up, and then take your stroke. That'll probably help you with more consistency to start off with. There you go. Oh yeah, you're matching those angles pretty good. And everybody always gets hung up on angles. You know what? When you've sharpened a couple of hundred knives and you want to play with a 15-degree edge angle versus a 17-degree edge angle, then that matters, okay? When you're just trying to get your kitchen knife sharp so that you can cook dinner, or if you're just trying to get your climbing knife sharp so that you can go climb and play on the rocks tomorrow, hey, you know what? Get the thing sharp and that's it. Now hold on, we're not ready to do stone stropping yet. Did you get the burr on the other side?
Yep. So
got it all the way up? Okay, then we're done with the coarse side.
Okay.
Actually, let's go to this side. If you rotate your stones, they kind of wear evenly. Okay, so now, wipe the blade off first to get any grit off of, this size grit, and keep it off of that stone. Put more oil on. Okay, now which side's your burr on?
This side.
That side? All right.
Yep.
Lay the blade flat, and then lift it up to your, yep, that looks good, and then draw it to you.
I can feel it more now.
Yep, nice and smooth. Speed comes later. Right now, everything's just nice and smooth. Okay, now when you present your blade to the stone, that time you actually started up in here. You should have felt like a little drop. It dropped and then it started cutting. So always start right up there in your plunge line. There you go. That's why I like the burr-based method so much, is because it tells you when you are done, because you cannot move that burr to the other side until that side is done. The plateau method, I see that as being a more advanced sharpening system. You know, that's for once you've sharpened a couple of hundred knives and, you know, now you know what you're doing. You know how much pressure to use. You know how much, what angles to use. Your hands are used to that. That's where I see the plateau method really coming in. How's it feeling?
All on that side now.
It's all on the other side? And it's nice and even and it's half the size that it used to be?
Yep.
Okay, now go to this side, lay your blade flat, adjust your edge angle, and then now you feel that first stroke is going to be real gritty because you're getting rid of that burr.
You can hear it.
Yeah, so you'll be able to feel the bright vibrations of the blade going over the stone through the handle. You'll be able to hear how that how the stone sounds. I think that's about it, really. It's still what?
Still on this side.
It's still on that side?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then you either need more passes or your edge angle looks pretty consistent to me. It might be a little on the low side, but that's okay. Because that burr will let you know when you're done with that side. I'm going to go turn the radio down.
It's all over here now.
It's all over
Barely.
on the... Barely? Okay, then give it...
Super fine.
Give it 2 more strokes that way. Nice, light, and even ones. Okay. Now double check it, make sure it feels good. No, you'll actually be able to feel it on that side.
It's super fine.
Super fine?
Yeah.
You're liking that, huh? Yeah. Okay, so now our shaping and our setup for our edge is done. Okay, we know that for a fact because that burr told us. And you cannot trick a burr. It tells you one way or another. It's one of the most honest things on the face of the planet, which is why it's so great. Okay, it won't lie to you. Now you need to put some more oil on the stone. Now, very half or a third of the pressure that you were using, that's what I want you to use. And smooth. Okay?
Okay.
So try to keep that blade just as smooth and controlled as you possibly can.
Okay.
Okay? Now, do 10 strokes on this side and then feel for that burr. Yep, that's your second edge angle. You can also tell, now see how you just started there?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Now, as you bring that knife back, watch the oil climb on top of the blade. Okay, well, if the oil doesn't climb on top of the blade, that means that side isn't all the way on the stone. Oh, that's looking good. And I can hear that you're using just about the right amount of pressure, because sometimes it's cutting and sometimes it's not.
I think that was somewhere around 10.
Okay, we're not going to get hung up on the numbers. Now check for the burr.
Okay, I feel it.
It moved over?
Yep.
All right, now do 10 on that side. Now there you're increasing your edge angle a little bit each time. And that comes with practice. You know, it's just like driving a car or riding a bicycle. You know, the more you do it, the better you get at it. But you ought to, I mean, if you're feeling that burr back and forth, when we're done, we'll have you take some hair off my arm, I guess.
You trust me that much?
Yeah. It'd just be a flesh wound. Yep, so now, you know, 4, 5, 3, you know, whatever you want. But still nice and light, very controlled, very smooth, watching that oil climb up on the blade. Now the one bad thing about mineral oil is that once you get to this stage right here, that mineral oil provides enough cushion that feeling that burr is a little bit tough sometimes.
Yeah.
So you can always, you know, at that point you'll have to wipe off not only the blade but also whichever fingertip that you're going to use to check for the burr. And then, but that also does the same thing with the stone. Okay, so if this is a 400 grit stone, and you use a normal pressure stroke, you're going to get 400 grit scratches. Okay, well, a normal pressure stroke with, you know, a little bit of oil, you'll get 400 grit scratches. Now you use lighter pressure, you'll get finer scratches. You put more oil on there, that provides a cushion in between the blade and the stone, and it'll lighten up your scratches even more. So you can really adjust the speed of which the stone cuts by your pressure and the amount and or type of oil that you put on the stone.
Cool.
Okay, so you did 4 on each side after you did 10 on each side. Okay, so now it's
Feel
you can just barely feel it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're time to cut our micro bevels in and actually create the edge. Okay, so very, very light pressure.
Okay.
In fact, if it doesn't cut the first stroke, that's okay, because then you know just to put another ounce of pressure on it to make it cut. So you lay your blade flat. Okay, now raise it up to what you think was your sharpening angle. Okay, now go a little bit more. Now 10 degrees, 15, a little bit more, about like that. Okay. Now very smooth, very light. Drag it right across that stone. Okay. Do one more. Okay, now go the other way, because now we're trying to cut that burr off. So that stroke would have moved the burr to this side. So this stroke is actually the stroke that you're going to cut that burr off. Now check and see if you can feel the burr. If you can, it'll be very, very fine.
Barely.
Barely? Okay, then...
Or I'm going nuts.
No, either way, either way. Yeah, so now do just one stroke at that higher edge angle to create that micro bevel, and very, very light. Okay, now check it.
I don't feel anything.
You don't feel anything? Grab the piece of paper over there and see if it'll cut it.
Nope. Ha!
Cutting paper is a little bit of an art unto itself. Okay?
That's not my specialty.
Well, if you've never done it before, so you start cutting close to where your fingertips, I mean, don't cut your fingertips, but close to your fingertips. That way the paper's kind of supported right there, and then just nice and light start in. Now once you can start doing like curly cues like that, you know, then that lets you know then you're at the next level, right? Okay. I see no light reflecting. I see where you had problems with the tip, but that's okay. You know, the edge feels good and sharp. Do you want to take her off my arm, or do you want me to?
You do it.
Let me do it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll feel bad if I hurt you.
You know, it's not a perfect edge, but it is taking hair off my arm. And I can feel it grabbing it. This is why knife makers are bald on their arms. Yeah.
Nice.
Plenty of hair off my arm. Very first time she's ever sharpened a knife. And she went from a dull knife, because you guys saw me just rake that thing across the stone, right? I mean, it was nasty. There was no edge left. And now all of a sudden, 20 minutes later, she's got a knife that we can take hair off my arm with, that cuts paper. It's a little bit dull on the tip, but you know what? That's okay. Because the next time, I mean, if that's your knife at home, and you go home and you practice tomorrow, or 3 days from now, because Amazon will get that stone to you in 2 days. So that stone comes in, you pick up some mineral oil or something like that, and you grab your first knife or your first knife at home by yourself, and you go step by step through this, which this will be on YouTube, so you can follow it step by step anytime you want. And you find out that your tip is a little bit dull, well, guess what? Now when you do your tips are a little bit tough, okay? So as the blade, the width gets narrower, okay, what you end up having to do is, if this is your normal angle, okay, as you bring it towards it, you'll have to raise up to keep that edge bevel in contact with the stone. And the magic marker will tell you that.
Okay.
So if you have problems with tips, which most people do, just mark it up and then, you know, practice doing tips. You know, and this particular knife, even though the tip is dull or not quite as sharp as the rest of it, I mean, it's, you know, not a bad edge. I mean, that would go through a carrot or dress out a trout just fine, you know. But you don't have to sharpen the whole blade just to get that tip. You know, so you can come back in, you know, and tune that tip up. Just the tip. Now it's not bad.
Nice.
You know, just that easy.
Yeah.
So what do you think? This is, you talk to YouTube, well, we got to see her. You've just been seeing her hands. All right, there you go. All right, what do you think about your first sharpening ever?
It was not near as hard as I expected it.
Thank you very much.
Why wasn't I in here sooner? Learning.
Well, we only met a couple of years ago.
True.
You know.
Very true.
But still, yeah, I mean, don't you wish somebody would have taught you this when you were 10?
Yeah.
Man or woman?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, heck, this is an awful lot of power here, right? Right? So from now on, when your knife gets dull, you can run to wherever you keep the household stone, sharpen that knife back up. You don't have to wait for the husband or the son or, you know, whoever that has that black magic in their hands that can sharpen a dang knife. There's no black magic to it. It's right there.
I want to go sharpen all my kitchen knives now.
No, first, we're going to take a little break. We're going to download this, get my card memory back, and then we're going to do a plateau sharpening if you have time.
Oh,
that's a little bit, okay. That's a little bit more complicated, but now that you've got this down, now, no matter if you ever do any other kind of sharpening, you know, if you want to play around with plateau sharpening, you want to play around with water stones, diamond stones, it's all the same. The skills that you learn on an old oil stone translate to a water stone, to a diamond hone, to a ceramic stone, natural stones like Arkansas soft and fine and translucent, all of those. That right there is your basics. And now you know you can take a dull-ass knife, or take a knife that's sharp, dull it, and then bring it back to sharp. Now you can play with whatever you want to. All right. Anyways, so we're going to take a quick break, grab a drink. We're at 54 minutes, and I bet you the next video is going to be just as long. But this is hands-on. I mean, you guys saw it, start to finish. Somebody who's never sharpened a knife before, just got her first razor edge sharp knife, first time ever. That's how easy it is. Again, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can find me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. I really need a glass of water. And we will see you here in a little bit.